What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This here's Legitical Response. We cover political news. We'll keep you up to date and keep you informed with everything that the government does. And right now, we're having a slow news day, so we're covering some politics, right? You might think politics, well, that's the same thing as the government, right? Well, no, it's not quite the same thing. It's a little bit different, right? Like, we've got a presidential election coming up, and so everything is ramping up for that. You know, the attacks on each other, they're just attacking each other. And, you know, I've wondered for a very long time, how the hell did politicians go from trying to explain and convey their ideas as to why they would be a better politician? Why did it go from explaining their ideas to just attacking the other person, the opposition, in other words? Like, why did we get to that? Like, why do people buy into this, right? Like, oh, Trump is bad. Trump's evil. No, Biden's evil. Well, he is evil, but no, Biden's evil. Why can't you just explain your ideas and your policy prescriptions, as it were, and convey your message with that and get votes based off of that? I guess it's because people love tension. They love watching other people fight. I guess that's why we're constantly staying in foreign wars. We can't keep ourselves out of foreign wars for some reason. We get out of Afghanistan and all of a sudden Russia invades Ukraine. Like, hang on. And then we have to get involved with that, right? Like, oh, we've got to save democracy. We've got to send $60 billion to Ukraine. Why? Well, I mean, $113 billion to Ukraine. I'm sorry. We've sent $113 billion to Ukraine. They've received over $200 billion from NATO, you know, the European Union and the United States and all that, to fund their war, to fund the more killing of soldiers on a battlefield. That's outright BS, if you ask me. I think Putin should be jailed, honestly, for invading another country for no legitimate reason, right? Like, ask him the reason why he invaded Ukraine, and he's going to lie to you, right? Like, oh, he wanted to denazify Ukraine. Well, that's not justification, right? He wanted a land bridge. That's all he wanted. That's why he hasn't invaded the rest of Ukraine. That's why he hasn't totally taken over the country. And that's why he's not going to invade NATO. He's not going to go into Poland. He's not going to go anywhere past where he is right now. And if anybody tries to tell you otherwise, they are lying to you. They're trying to sell you a boat of lies. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about politics and the back and forth between presidential nominees, right? Let's get into it, y'all. News organizations urge Biden, Trump to commit to debates during 2024 presidential election. Shouldn't they have put a "the" in there? Do you think? Let me know down in the comments if you think they should have put a "the" between the Trump to commit to debates during the 2024 U.S. presidential election. I think they should have. They make mistakes all the time, right? Like, I read a lot of these news articles, and they love starting sentences with "and," right? So, like, I was taught in school that you're not supposed to start a sentence with a conjunction, right? Like, conjunction is, you know, root word conjoin, which is bring two things together, right? Like, you can't start something by bringing two things together. It makes no sense to me, but y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comment section. 12 news organizations on Sunday urged presumptive presidential nominees Joe Biden and Donald Trump to agree to debates, saying they were a rich tradition that have been a part of every general election campaign since 1976. While Trump, who did not participate in debates for the Republican nomination, has indicated a willingness to take on his 2020 rival, the Democratic president has not committed to debating him again. And I wonder why Joe Biden has not committed to debating him again.
Anyway, and I don't want to, well, maybe choose my words. I was just thinking, anyway, but I just, look, I mean, Putin's kleptocracy. Yeah. It was in January, after being elected. The late January, early February. He said, it's not, we need not just, well, I won't go into it. Here's what drives the driver in the states that are affected. Here's what you can do, the drivers. For two reasons. One,
because he can't. The Democratic Party knows this. The DNC knows it. Pretty much all Americans know this, except for a blinded few people who think that Joe Biden is actually a good person to put back in office, right? Like, they haven't seen the destruction of the country over the past 4 years, right? Like, these people are vehemently behind Joe Biden, and it's like, what are you thinking? This dude is a complete disaster. He hasn't done anything good for the country. He's supposed to be the great unifier president, right? He comes into office and immediately starts dividing the country even further than we was already divided in the first place, right? Like, Donald Trump gets put into office, right? And before 2016, before he decided to run for president, everybody loved Donald Trump, right? Like, he was funding like Chuck Schumer and people like that, all these Democrats. He was a big funder for Democrats, but he starts running as president, and all of a sudden, he's a racist, he's a bigot, he's Hitler.
If that man gets in, as soon as he takes the oath, he will have generals walk down the steps of the Capitol. He will take a hammer and break the glass where the Constitution is, and he will tear it up in our faces. He will punish everybody that didn't vote for him.
Let me tell y'all how I know this shit.
I know it because I know what mental illness looks like. That mania is unstoppable. This motherfucker is Hitler.
And it blows my mind all the time, constantly boggles my brain as to how far the corporate press and these politicians will go to lie about Donald Trump to try to promote him as being some sort of an evil dictator when he's like America first. Like, I just covered a story yesterday talking about he's the most un-American presidential nominee that we've ever had, right? And then you go, like, if you don't know nothing about Donald Trump and you hear that, you're like, holy crap, he's the most un-American presidential nominee we've ever had. Then you go and watch one of his rallies and it totally contradicts what was just said, right? Like, he is the most American because he's an American first politician. And I'm gonna call him a politician because, yeah, sure, he's a business mogul as well, but his main thing right now is politics, so we'll call him a politician. But, you know, his main thing, his whole spiel is America first, right? Like, why are we funding NATO pretty much? They need to pay their fair share, which you would think Democrats would get on board with because they're all about the rich paying their fair share, right? But because it's Donald Trump pushing it, yeah, they don't like it, right? He gets out there and is like, we need to secure our borders because we got rapists and murderers coming across our southern border, right? You would think that would be a normal position. As a matter of fact, Democrats used to be about securing our border, but nowadays, because Donald Trump wants to secure our border, no, we need open borders. We need all these criminal aliens coming across the country, raping and murdering our civilians, our citizenry. Yeah, we need that for some reason, right? Like, Donald Trump gets out there and says, why are we sending money to Ukraine to fund a war so they can kill each other? And then the Democrats will come in just because Donald Trump said it. Nope, we've got to defend democracy, right? But we all know Ukraine's not a democracy, right? So Joe Biden cannot stand up to these policy positions because they don't make any freaking sense. So the DNC cannot allow Joe Biden to debate Donald Trump. It will go very poorly for Joe Biden. It will only go good for Donald Trump. It might not boost him in the polls, but it sure won't take away from his polling, and it will definitely hurt Joe Biden, right? We've got like a big arm of the Democratic Party right now that have went absolutely insane and want to destroy America and want to destroy Israel, who is one of our greatest allies, right? Like, we are totally behind Israel in every single facet that we can be. But we have people in this country who are against Joe Biden because he is for Israel, because of what Israel is doing in Gaza. And sure, it's an atrocity, but it's an atrocity. It's a self-inflicted atrocity on the part of the Palestinians for voting a terrorist organization as their government. Like, what the hell were they thinking? Right? A good analogy for that would be like, if you vote, to abolish murder as a crime, right? Like, it's okay to murder people nowadays, right? And then murder rates shoot up because everybody's dying, and then you get up there and say, this is an atrocity, this is so terrible, this is so bad. Well, you voted for it. Like, what the hell are you thinking? Right? Like, we've got these viral clips of women like, why aren't men approaching us anymore? Well, it's because of the whole Me Too movement. The feminism movement came out and said, don't approach us, so men stopped approaching women, and now they're wondering why men don't want to approach women. It blows your mind, right? Like, that's what you wanted. That's what these people wanted. They wanted a terrorist organization to be in charge of the government, and then they get mad when this terrorist organization, terrorizes everybody, right? And they start get taken out. Right? Like, it's you voted for that. Although invitations have not been formally issued, the news organization said it was not too early for each campaign to say publicly that it will participate in the 3 presidential and 1 vice presidential forums set by the Nonpartisan Commission on Presidential Debates. If there's one thing Americans can agree on during this polarized time, it is that the stakes of this election are exceptionally high, the organization said in a joint statement. Amidst that backdrop, there's simply no substitute for the candidates debating each other and before the American people, their visions for the future of our nation. ABC, CBS, CNN, Fox, PBS, NBC, NPR, and the Associated Press all signed on to the letter. Biden and Trump debated twice in 2020. A third debate was canceled after Trump, then president, tested positive for COVID-19 and would not debate remotely. Yeah, right. Like, right. Like, once again, the corporate press is trying to skew something into reality, right? Like, oh, he turned it down because he had COVID. He wouldn't debate remotely. Do you think that somebody is going to be up for a debate when they have COVID-19, for crying out loud? Like, see, that's what I hate about the corporate press. They're trying to skew something like it's a bad thing that he didn't want to debate remotely. Right, like, why throw that fact out there? Of course he's not going to debate remotely. The man had COVID-19, for crying out loud. Like, that makes no sense, and that's what I hate about the corporate press, is they're constantly trying to skew stuff and lie to the American people, lie to you, lie to me, just to push a BS narrative that makes no logical sense. Asked on March 8th whether he would commit to a debate with Trump, Biden said, "It depends on his behavior." Why? Why, Joe Biden? Why would it depend on his behavior? What about his behavior is a policy prescription for you? How can you defend that statement, Joe Biden? Seriously, like somebody down in the comments, how do you defend that position? Right? Like, this is a presidential debate. What do you mean by behavior? What kind of behavior? Right? Like, what has Trump done to make Joe Biden not want to debate him because of Trump's behavior? Right? Like, nothing. That's a whole BS statement. That's an excuse. It's a cop-out, and it should piss off every single Democrat who is in favor of voting for Joe Biden. That should piss everybody off. Like, this dude doesn't care enough about winning your vote or winning over the votes of the independents to debate Donald Trump. It's because he can't, folks. And if he can't simply do a debate, he can't run the country. I'm sorry. The dude's not there. We all know that. And I'm harping on this, and I'm going down that rabbit hole because we all know he's not there. he can't debate Donald Trump. He would lose his ass quickly. We know that they're both getting old, right? Like, the corporate press has tried to push the narrative that Trump's too old too. You know, they can't deny that Biden's too old. So they try to push the narrative that Trump is also too old. We'll go and watch one of his speeches at one of his rallies. The dude is still very sharp. Joe Biden, on the other hand, not so much. Not so much at all, as we saw with that clip.
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
But I don't want to rant and rave all day on this. You know, y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comment section. Do you guys think that we're going to have a presidential debate this year? And what do you think about not having a presidential debate, right? Like, we know Donald Trump has offered to debate Joe Biden several times on the campaign trail. He said it in a few of his rallies. You know, he even had a rally the other day with a second podium that said anytime, anywhere, any place. You know, that was basically there for Joe Biden to show up and debate Donald Trump. He will do it on a whim, if you will. You know, Donald Trump will stop what he's doing and go debate Joe Biden. Unprepared, anytime, any place. That's basically what he was saying. And Donald Trump would beat the crap out of Joe Biden. You know, even if it comes down to just policy prescription and you're not trying to get any gotchas or make him look stupid or any of the debate tactics that people use to defeat an opponent. If you just debated simply on policy prescription, Donald Trump would win. Because Donald Trump is all about America first. He's all about the citizenry. That's why people love this guy so much, right? Like, that's why he has a cult-like following. Yeah, there are some Trump cultists out there. I will outright admit that. You know, I'm not a big fan of Trump. I am going to vote for Donald Trump, however, because he is the best person for the job and what we've got. Anybody that's followed this channel for any length of time knows that I would much rather have had Vivek Ramaswamy, but that's no longer an option. But I've turned a closing statement into like a 3-minute rant about the debate, right? Like, what am I doing now? Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. That's all I got for this one, you guys. I want to thank everybody for watching. I really do appreciate it, y'all. And y'all try to have a good day and stay legitical. Peace.